Hey folks, it's time for TWiP PRO Photo Critique number 87. This is TWiP. Hey, welcome back to this week's TWiP PRO Photo Critique. I am your host, co-host. I don't know, what would be a third host be called? Because I'm the third host on the show today. I'm Frederick Van Johnson.
Hostess.
Joining the hostess, no, joining me from some undisclosed location in Northern California is Troy Miller and Stephen Sharf, and they're in the Sharf Cave. What's going on, Stephen? You're on the show. You're on the critique session. What's going on, man?
We had a great weekend out photographing this week. Troy came up for a visit with Marjorie, and we've been out every day shooting and having a really good time. Really cool. Very cool. And you're in Troy Miller. You're just you just descended on poor Mr. Sharf and made him give you the relative tour of the Bay Area, I hear.
Well, what happened is last week he showed me, his black and white image that we like so much of, what is it, St. Mary's? What is it?
Cathedral.
St. Mary's Cathedral in San Francisco. And I'm like, I want to go photograph that. And so here we are. And we photographed it.
There you go. Done. That's it. And we'll save it for a later discussion, Troy. But I know you got some new toys over the last couple of days, and I want your impression over these new toys.
Okay.
I've got to spill it. He got the new iPhone and the AirPods Pro. So I want to hear impressions about both of those things. Stephen, I'd be curious to hear what you think about those AirPods Pro as well. You're kind of the audiophile of the community. I'd be interested to know if you think they're, I know they're never going to be great, but do you think they're good enough? So,
Yeah, so I'll have to get a demo at the Apple Store, Frederick, to speak to that. But I will say that I went with Troy and Marjorie to the Apple Store yesterday. We went down to the new one right next to the space station campus, and I was really impressed with the camera on the iPhone, the new iPhone 11 Pro. It was really impressive.
Oh yeah, it is. It impresses me every day. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of being impressed, let's dive into this week's critique. The topic for this one, as you guys both know, was parallel lines. So Great. I want to dive into the, let's do this quick screen share here. We're in the TWiP Pro community. Let's start from the top. Look who's at the top. How does that even happen? How does that even happen? So, Stephen, I know you guys were out doing the tour thing, and this was downtown San Jose somewhere. Tell us about this location.
So, actually, this wasn't San Jose. Yesterday, we went to San Jose City Hall and shot the City Hall, which was great for Troy with his infrared camera. But this is actually in San Francisco. I took this in August of 2018 down by the temporary Transbay terminal area, and a lot of development there, and there were some really cool like townhomes and stuff right near the temporary Transbay terminal. So I submitted this because it has lots of parallel lines. So it's kind of interesting geometric vibe to it, and converted to black and white because I really love architecture in black and white, and even like the curvy skyscraper in the background there, if you kind of look at the floors right there, those floors are actually parallel to each other. If you were to look at them literally straight on, they don't parallel even though they're curved. So that was going to be my entry for this week.
That's cool. If Troy Miller hadn't descended on you and ruined your chances of placing this one. Troy, you got to leave some gifts behind for that. I mean, that's, come on.
Yeah.
Troy, what do you think? What do you think of the shot?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I love the abstract of all the lines, going horizontally, kind of on an angle, but they're not parallel lines, right? I mean, they're parallel lines, but they're not converging lines, which I like. And then I like the fact that you got that juxtaposition of the Kirby building in the background, that nice use of negative space back there and stuff. I like it a lot. I would probably crop the top left corner a little bit tighter.
Oh, okay.
But not too much. I think everything is tight in the frame, so why not make that tight as well? Yeah. I just bring those in.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
No, Troy, this is a candidate for, what I'm going to say, right?
Yep.
Yeah, your clouds in Luminar.
All right.
Troy wants to put clouds in everything now, right?
Yeah, I do, because it's easy, because I can.
Yeah. Would you do that on a shot like this though? Like, and it's interesting having Steven there, the artist there as well. Steven, do you think it works better blank sky or would having clouds in there add to it?
Yeah, so I always like to have some clouds in the sky shot, just to add some texture, I guess, and interest, visual interest, so that it's not just blank, empty space per se. But as you know, Frederick, I mean, you live in Northern California too. That's hard to find in the summer months here.
Yeah.
But I think the key thing for adding clouds in here, like with Luminar 4, would be you'd want to make sure that the lighting of the clouds and the angle of light on the clouds when you do the sky replacement matches the angle of incidence and the type of lighting and the time of day for the subject, the building.
Yeah, or else it won't sell, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times folks don't pay attention to those details, but like where the light is coming from, the angle it's coming from, and maybe the time of day of those clouds, you'd want to factor all that into your sky replacement.
No, for sure.
Right, or else somebody calls you out on it in the middle of a public forum while you're at WPPI.
Well, I'm just saying, do better work. That's all. I'm just saying.
Yeah, don't suck. That's the whole thing.
Suck. We need a T-shirt that says that. Don't suck. All right. Thanks, Steven, for putting that in there. The next shot is up from James Glennie, and he says this one is parallel chords. Parallel chords.
Yeah, I like
Look at
that.
the detail in there.
Yeah, and it's not a beverage, which is unusual for James not to enter a beverage. But
what are you trying to say about James Glennie?
Yeah. This looks like an Ovation guitar. Like I like that name. Probably don't know. I have no idea. I do like the shadow play in here quite a bit. I think that's super cool. I wonder. I'm trying to figure out. Like it feels like it's a left-handed guitar.
No, it's right-handed.
Oh no, it's right-handed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because you would hold it like this, and this would be the top string. That's the heaviest string.
Yeah, but the frets are getting further apart as you go down this way.
You're right.
It's a left-handed guitar.
Ah, look at that.
I think it's a left-handed guitar.
Could be.
Steven,
Yeah,
what do you think of the shot?
You know what I like about it, Frederick, is that it takes kind of an everyday subject and shows it in a way that's rather unique. And I kind of like there's multiple sets of parallel lines here, right? You've got the frets as parallel lines, and then you've got the strings perpendicular to them, and then you've got the shadows as well, which create, I think, a lot of visual interest. And then you've got the parallel lines of the edges of the neck of the guitar as well to kind of just create the framing.
It's a grid. It is a grid of natural and man-made materials, which is kind of.
And I also like the texture of the wood too. It adds some visual interest. Yeah,
very nice. Nice treatment too with the little black border. And
it's nicely lit.
Nice finish. Looks finished.
Yeah, that is cool. I just noticed that black border into that black abyss just sort of it cuts into the image, but you don't even realize it's bordered until you look at where the actual image ends. That's cool.
Exactly, and that means it doesn't run off the frame, right? That there's a defined composition with respect to the guitar neck.
Yeah, it's trapped in there. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, James Glennie, non-alcoholic frets. All right. Next shot, Mr. Thomas Aaron is up. Look at this. Composite? Where is this?
Of some sort, yeah.
What is going on here? Okay. He stretched this middle part of the building. Oh, okay. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's very Logan's Run looking.
Logan's Run.
What is this red light on my palm that keeps flashing? I don't know.
Right. You just turned 30. You're done. You're done for.
It does kind of look Logan's Runny though, right?
It does. It looks very cool. I'm just trying to look at it and see, what I would do differently. I mean, I think that like the bottom half needs to be rotated counterclockwise a little bit, where it's leaning a little bit to the right. But it's very creative. I think that the abstractness of this is very cool. I'd like to know a little bit more from Thomas, like what was his thought behind, making this. The lines feel like they're more converging than parallel, but I realize there's parallel in the middle. I don't know. This is so outside my wheelhouse. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think, because I look at it, and it's like the world is breaking apart on that axis to reveal another dimension back there or something.
You know what it reminds me of, Frederick? Have you seen the movie Inception by Christopher Nolan? Where all the skies...
only 1 or 100 times. Yeah.
Right, I was going to say, Frederick better answer that he's seen that.
So it kind of reminds me like when those skyscrapers all distort in that movie. Like that's what's kind of going on here.
the Paris scene. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or Doctor Strange. Yeah, if you want to.
Right.
Doctor Strange. Yeah. Yes, Doctor Strange. That's a good one. Yeah. So if I were looking at this with my architectural eye, the lower part of the building that shows some structure, you've got some parallel lines there. You can see the windows and things. It looks to me like it just needs to be like the camera was very slightly off center from the direct, geometric middle axis of the building. So that's the lens. And this is hard because Peter Lyons and I fuss with us all the time when we shoot interiors. Like the lens was not perfectly perpendicular to the building, okay? And there's no easy way to do that visually, right? It's like, hey, Peter, it'd be great if we had a laser that told us we were perpendicular. Like, yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. But I see just a little bit of maybe angle of the lens with respect to the front of that lower part of the building, I think. Where it's not perfectly centered, but I agree that it would be hard from the distance he probably shot it at to know that the lens was perfectly perpendicular to that front wall of that building.
Yeah. I bet he's watching this. He's thinking, geez, I just did shot. Wasn't thinking about all that. I just thought this cool was a cool treatment. Jeez.
Right. It might be cool too is to make each one of those sort of horizontal pieces a different color or a different tone.
You mean the top building and the bottom building?
I love the creativity in this.
Yeah, this is so neat.
I mean, this is I haven't seen work like this from Thomas before, and I would encourage him to kind of continue down this vein because I think it's very creative and really interesting visually, and I really like it for that a lot.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, I agree.
More, Thomas. We need
Good
more.
job.
Do a project like this.
All right. Moving on to Erik Pronske. Erik Pronske's next. He says, looking up Barcelona. I made this image by looking straight up to the sky between two parallel buildings. The diagonal in the upper left is a walkway between the two buildings. Let's take a look. That's so cool. This one's cool.
Yeah.
I told you, we were talking about this before we started recording. From a compositing standpoint, I would love for him to have put people in those windows, some upside down, some right side up, and people were walking on each surface in there, each plane. That would have been that would have been so cool with all the shadows, playing correctly and all that. That would have been fantastic. But even on its own like this, without the people in there and my nitpicking, I like this shot a lot.
Yeah, I absolutely love this shot. I think that if it wasn't for that diagonal walkway, it would feel like a very mundane shot. I mean, it would still be cool looking up, but that angled walkway on the left,
parallelogram.
Yeah, it's a parallelogram, and it still fills in the space.
And it makes you look at it. You look over there, and you think, am I looking at stairs? Oh, no, that can't be stairs because that's a sky, and that's a window on the right side. Yeah, so it just starts messing with your head, like, what's going on in this image,
Yeah. I think this is fantastic. As far as the image goes, I would probably bring down the exposure a little bit and I would try to block up those shadows a little bit. I think more contrast would be better. But I like contrasty images, so that's just more preference, not really required.
remember
it's well done.
Did you guys ever remember seeing a controversial shot that this reminds me of, where the photographer, composited a plane into the sky and then tried to pass it off as real? Remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I initially I thought it'd be funny to put an airplane in there just as an homage to that whole thing.
Yeah, right? Yeah, homage to the cheater.
Yeah. So can I add a few comments?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So I love this photograph also, actually. I think it's fantastic. It has kind of a 30s feel. So we were kind of discussing it before the critique tonight. It reminds me of a famous photograph by Henri Cartier-Bresson with all the windows. Even though that's a very different photograph, but he has a famous photograph of a building with lots of tiny little windows all up the wall. And it reminds me of that. But it also has a very interesting kind of 30s feel to it. And then there's an MC Escher-esque kind of vibe to it as well. And then the other thing it reminds me of is a scene in 2001, A Space Odyssey, where the lunar module is coming in and landing on the lunar base. And you see a shot where it's kind of landing down, and you see people upside down and right side up.
Yeah. Yep.
You remember that scene, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the windows on both sides kind of remind me of that scene in 2001: A Space Odyssey. So the fact that it triggers all these visual memories for me, I think really adds a lot for me for the visual appeal and the creativity. I love the photograph.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. This is a good one. This is a good one.
Yep.
All right. Erik Pronske.
Good job, Erik.
Next shot up is from Mr. Mark Harris. Mark says, parallel made while exploring outside of Boulder, Colorado a few months ago. I just like the shape. All right. All right, Stephen, I'm going to sick you on this image here. Where's the parallel line in this image?
Well, so here's
Or
the thing,
can circles be parallel? We didn't say parallel straight lines, did we? Yeah,
right.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, you got it, Frederick. So I was going to say that these curved structures are in fact geometrically parallel with each other.
Yeah.
Even though they're not straight lines. And so I think that the maker, I'm blanking now on.
This was Mark Harris.
Mark Harris. Sorry, Mark. I like the fact that Mark thought a little bit outside the box and realized that parallelism does not mean necessarily straight lines, that you could have a series of curved lines that are perfectly parallel, geometrically speaking. So
yeah,
I like it for that. I think he's done a good job of controlling the tonal range that you can see behind the trees there. That looks like that there's some sort of hills or mountains in the background, but they don't call attention to themselves. And it's nicely framed, and it looks like an interesting place in maybe a park or something like that.
Yeah, it's like an outside amphitheater or something like that. Yeah,
exactly.
What do you think, Troy?
You know, everything that Steven said is good. I mean, I like it. I feel like there's not a direct subject in this image, like something that's easy for me to lock my eyes on. So
you need a bride in there somewhere, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, bride. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard when you have subjects like this when there's not like a direct, hook into the image. I would probably go with a little bit more contrast and try to bring the highlights up on the rocks and, make it a little bit more edgy. But, for all intents and purposes, like he said, I like it. So it's great.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's a little bit muddy for my taste. Contrast-wise, I like to see a little bit crisper. This reminds me of a negative, like being in the dark room and printing, and you'd get here and you're like, a little more contrast,
Yeah. Change the contrast filter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good insight, Frederick, that your extensive experience in the dark room to kind of bring that up, because, only someone with a lot of darkroom experience would kind of
have suffered through that pain.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been through that pain, but the fact that you have that experience to draw on, and you're thinking about how do I make this photograph interesting in terms of the nature of the tonal range, right? How does it fall off to create interest?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. In the darkroom, this could have been, if you guys remember, like, did someone fog this paper? Someone flogged this paper.
Bad developer.
Bad developer.
Damn
That's
it.
Who flashed the lights? Yeah, yeah. Mark Harris, thank you, sir. All right, Michael DeRay's up next. He says, parallel lines Ohio style with his Olympus EM10. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Troy, you know a little bit about that area, don't you?
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I'm from Indiana. Mostly, they don't have this many hills, so it's mostly flat.
So it is mostly flat.
Ohio has some rolling hills. Yeah, this is really cool. I don't know that we need the right half of the image. I really feel like the story is in those antennas and then that pole, and then of course the lines that are in the farmland there.
Yeah.
I dig it, but I think we have too much on the right.
Where would you crop it at? Like right in the middle or right after that vertical white pole in there?
A little bit more to the right of the vertical white pole, like in between those two, a little more to the right.
Like right here?
More.
Right here?
More. I want it long, more. A little more. Right there.
Right
yeah,
there.
Somewhere there.
Okay.
Yeah. That way all the trees are unique and the pattern is unique. You still pick up that. I just think everything to the right of that, there's not a lot there to gain my interest. I mean, if you had like an Amish horse team, plowing the field, or there's a tractor in there or something, like, leave that in there.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I see what you mean. Steven, you have anything to add?
Just to add to what Troy said, I agree with his comments about the composition. I think I'd like to see just a slightly steeper contrast profile to the image. It's a little flat looking to me contrast wise. I understand probably the atmosphere and the time of day, the lighting was a little bit flat, but I'd like to see maybe some clarity or something to kind of increase the acutance, just to give a little bit more of a slight snap to the contrast profile, just to
the little sprinkle of clarity in there, right? Or something. Yeah.
And then I'd look at the clouds and make sure that there's not any posterization going on the clouds and stuff like that. Just make sure that there's, some clean gradations of gray there. So,
yeah,
nice,
cool, good feedback, guys.
That's so nice. Just ask me what you want to do.
Is that Alexa?
Did you hear her just talking for no reason?
Yeah.
Jeez. Thank you, whatever your name is. Thank you, Michael DeRay, for that. I'm not even gonna say anything about that thing that's always listening to me. We were talking about this earlier today, Troy.
Yeah, we were.
All right. Next shout up is from Craig Stampley. And Craig says, parallel lines, parallel cylinders. Ferrari V12.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just sexy.
That's just in my colors too, right there. Ugh.
Yeah.
My brain has changed the words Ferrari on that engine to Frederick. That's what I choose to see as my reality.
So that's a Testarossa. Those cam covers are painted red like that. That's what classified that particular Ferrari as a Testarossa.
The Testarossa? Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. So Testarossa means red head, and it meant that the cylinder heads were painted in red, and it was a distinguishing feature of a certain series of models of cars, because normally those cam covers are painted in black.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this photograph really interesting, I think, visually.
That's really interesting. I mean, I didn't know that. It's still interesting to me. I love that colors. I had no idea this was from a Testarossa. That was every 16-year-old kid's dream car, back in the day. Still is. Yeah. What do you think, Troy?
I love the shallow depth of field. It's focused just right, like a third of the way into the frame. Very commercial. I mean, there's not a lot of distracting elements in this. I could see this on a poster in a dealership or something, right? Like, this is solid. This is really, really nice.
Wait a minute. You're not in ace nitpicking mode because you didn't pick up that one little dot right here. See that?
Well, I hadn't gotten it yet. I was inhaling. I was taking a breath.
Oh, okay.
I was going to comment on that. The little line that's a little bit further down the head on the right.
Oh, right here?
There's that right there. Yep, definitely need to clean that bad boy up. And then we need to crop some of those highlights out in the background, which is right above the weather seal for the back. Yeah. So just crop that stuff out. I think you'd be really good. Other than that, but see, I don't blame Craig for those little spots. The Ferrari owner should have fixed those.
Very true.
You know?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very nice. Love those colors, man. Those colors are killer.
Of course, you like those colors.
Of course, you know, right? Next shot up is from Peter Levshin. Peter. He says he shot this with his Sony A7R III, Mac Beach, Sydney, 12-24 millimeter. Very nice day at the wharf. All right.
Did you really shoot this with your A7R Mark III? Are you sure?
Do you know different? You have different information?
I've seen these images before.
And this one was made before that camera was created.
Right. So the only parallel lines in here are really the slats on the walkway. Otherwise, it's just converging lines.
Well, I mean, the background is all parallel. He streaked it and did the motion blur or whatever to make it parallel. So and you're right. The slats in the walkway are parallel.
Yeah, and it's fairly cool, except for that great big turd in the lower left-hand corner.
What
is that?
This?
Yeah, no, more left. Right in the corner. That's some Photoshop. Oops.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, you got that. Jeez.
Yeah. Cool shot though. Black and white though.
Nice treatment.
So what did he do to make this shot? He masked out the pier and then popped that with a Command J onto a separate layer and then blurred out the background?
Probably. I mean, it looks like that's what you would need to do.
Yeah, it looks like you applied a motion blur to it or something.
Yeah, it's not in-camera motion blur.
No.
Unless this whole pier was spinning somehow and he was on it taking the shot. He grabbed the shot.
Yeah,
cool.
I would love to see it crop tighter, less sky, cropping really tight on the left and the right to those, first pylons, and go black and white. That shadow will pop out. It'll look really nice.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Thank you, Peter. And we've got a couple more because it looks like the Skype bandwidth gods are getting angry with us. So.
Right. Yeah. 2 more. Almost done.
Yep. Lamb says parallel lines can be vertical, horizontal, and add slanted angles. They are vital in construction, especially in the structures of buildings. All that is very true.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
scaffolding. Is it scaffolding?
Yeah. This is a really interesting image. This is one that I really think would do well in black and white because you've got all these graphic elements. And you've got the crane with the cable, and I think that the colors that are happening in here were kind of losing unless we were able to desaturate everything else except for the orange and the black in that crane. That might be cool, just to have sort of a monochromatic, so not really a selective color, but just accentuate that one so the other ones drop out.
So it pops up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like the graphical element of it. I want the chain. I need that chain. I have stuff I want to build it.
I'm going to give you that one, Troy, and then Stephen, I'm going to give you the next one. So this was from Lamb. Thank you, Lamb.
Thank you, Lamb.
Last but not least, and Stephen Scharf, Michael Rhino says, as an entry for the parallel lines category, I will go with this one that I caught in early October near Crested Butte, Colorado. All right. What do you think?
I think it's absolutely beautiful. I wish I had been with Michael in that day in Colorado. Beautiful part of the country. Looks like he's just past peak color, maybe a couple of days, no more than a week. I love the concept of the slim. I guess these might be aspens, Frederick. This color here and aspens, of course, the white bark, I think, adds a nice contrast and shows the parallel lines of all the tree trunks. So I think it's really a lovely photograph. maybe I add just a touch more clarity to it, so that the leaves pop out just a little bit more, but really subtle on it. But overall, I think it's really lovely, and I'm envious that I wasn't there with Michael that day photographing, because it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is nice. Yeah, I agree with you on, it's nitpickery, but a touch of clarity to boost those colors a little bit and make those birch pop out, because those are the heroes in many ways of this shot, and make them stand out a little bit more. Would have been kind of cool.
Just a little more detail around the leaves, just a touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Mighty probably crushed the colors a little bit. If we had a better to display the images on, that would be really nice.
I'd love to see it as a print.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, as we wrap this up, you guys have any favorites, or have a favorite in this bunch?
I have a clear winner for me, which is Erik Pronske's.
That's my favorite. That is my favorite right there.
Homage to Escher. That's what should be titled.
Yeah, O to the E. Yeah. You see how those things come up? Just came up right on the fly there, Troy Miller.
O to the E. Yeah.
This is an O to the E.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool.
On this one, Frederick. So.
What'd you say, Stephen? I didn't hear you.
I would say we're unanimous on our choice for this. So
excellent. All right, Erik Pronske, you're this week's favorite. All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna put the camera back on you two. Next week, what did we say the theme was going to be? Storytelling, and you guys can tell us what that means. So what is it? Well, next week, just so the audience and the membership knows, you guys pick this topic. I'm just an innocent bystander. So let's see. So Go ahead.
We have a theory that if the topics are too complicated, nobody's entering. So let's
test it.
Yeah. So basically, it's storytelling. So an image that tells a story that doesn't require a title or a description. We can see the story in the image. So you got to really sort of dumb down the images for us so we understand what's happening.
So it has to be literal and obvious. Storytelling,
yeah. So run with it.
All right, there we go. Storytelling, folks. You heard it. This week it's storytelling. Thanks to you guys. Thanks for doing this today. Even though Skype is not agreeing with you, you guys, you look like Mario Brothers right now. I can't. Which one is Luigi? I don't know.
It's good in the little thumbnail. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll cut it right here before they cut it for us. That was this week in Photo TWiP PRO Critique, starring Stephen Scharf and Troy Miller. We'll see you guys next week.
This is TWiP.